Hi everyone, and welcome to the next part in this series on Django fundamentals. Okay, so today we'll do quite a bit. So we will be learning how to create a new task, how to go ahead and read a new task, how to update a task, and how to delete a task. So we're going to be doing quite a lot. So let's start off very simple and let's get ready to create a new task. All right. Now, unlike in the previous videos, we did learn this before, but now we're going to be working on building our task manager web application. So let's get to it. So first of all, we want to go ahead and just get everything ready and prepared with our templates. So we are here in our templates directory, and we can already see here that we have some HTML templates here. So base.html, dashboard.html, index.html, my login, register. Now we're going to be creating quite a few HTML files, and this is going to get cluttered. So in order to freeze up all that clutteredness, I'm just going to right click on templates and create a new folder. And here I'm just going to set it to, let's say, profile. Okay, so the whole key idea here is everyone that has an account that logs in, okay, all of their files that will be specifically unique to them, you could say, or unique to registered users, all those HTML templates will go in this folder here. Okay, so speaking of that, we can move dashboard in there in the meantime. But what we need to do now is we need to edit our dashboard view here. So what I mean by that is if we go to our to-do app, go to views.py, and we have a dashboard here. Now you'll see it just says dashboard.html. Now this isn't going to render properly because we have now put it in profile. So what we need to do here is we need to say profile to reference that folder here where dashboard is situated under. So I need to say profile and then / and then just keep it as it is. So this will now know that, okay, hey, this dashboard HTML template is under the profile folder. Okay, and we're going to be using the profile folder to store all of our upcoming HTML templates. Okay, great. Okay, so let's get straight to it. So first of all, we want to go ahead and create a new template, and I'm going to call this, let's say, create task.html. Okay, here we go. So we have it there all set and ready to go. And we can now keep that just as it is. And we can now go to do, and we want to go ahead and create our model. Okay, so let's do that. So what we are going to do is we're just going to go ahead and just say class. And this will be, let's say it's called this task, because we need one for, of course, task. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and just simply inherit models.model, so Django models, like so, and then we need to put in our attributes. So our attributes will be like so. So we're going to have one first of all for title, and it's going to be title models.char field, and we can say max length is equal to 100. And null is equal to true. Great. Okay, next we need one for our actual content. So here I'm going to say content. So this is like description, you could say. So here I'm going to say models.char field, max length. So the max length is, in case you're wondering, the number of characters. Okay, so here I'm going to say about, let's give it 1,000. Okay, and we can move on. Okay. And we need to say null equal to true. And another parameter that we can add is blank equals to true. So this is going to also ensure in Django's side, and of course our database with null equals to true, we want to make sure users don't get forced. So a title would be necessary, and content is not that important. So we can set this to blank equals true as well, not to force out users. Okay, great. Now the next attribute is date posted. So date posted, okay, basically we're not going to do much with that. So what's going to happen is, of course, our database will automatically set the date time field for that. Whenever we create a new task object, it will set that time for us. So that is the point of that. You're going to say null equal to true. Great. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we want to go ahead and assign a task and link it to our model database. Okay, so before we can actually make use of our user model, okay, we need to import it. So from Django dot contrib, we need to put this up top. Dot alls dot models import user. So this is the default user model that Django provides us with. So this is for all our users. So we need to make sure we import that. And we need to go ahead and just assign that foreign key to our user model. So to do that, we can just create an attribute called user, say models.foreign key, pass in the user as parameter, set the max length. So usually I just set 10. And then we need to add a third parameter on delete, which says models.cascade. So basically what's going to happen here is if for some reason we delete a user object, or that user, for example, were to go ahead and delete his or her account, then everything associated with that user, such as tasks, will also be deleted. So this is the point of this third parameter here on models cascade. Great, now we can just set null equal to true, and that's that. Okay, so at the moment we do actually have a user created. So we would need to, of course, go ahead and delete our user object just for now. So what we can do for now is we can just, of course, comment this out for now. We don't want there to be any issues, so let's just comment this code here for now. So we can just go ahead and delete that user, any users that we have. So you can go to your admin page, right, log in with your super user, and we're just going to delete any users. So we can go to users, and let's see what's here. Just this, I know this is the user. Okay, my super user is Anna, so I can just go ahead and delete selected users. Go, confirm it, and we can log out. And that's perfect. We can go back to our home page. Great. Now we can just go ahead and uncomment this as we see. Great. Okay, just so we don't have any issues or anything like that. Okay, so now we have our task model ready to go. So let's go ahead and actually migrate this. So first of all, we need to say python manage.py, and we need to prep our migration, you could say database files. So we do this by saying make migrations. Great, so we've created our model task. Now we need to actually migrate that model task to our database. So that's why we say migrate. Great, there we go, all ready. Now let's run our server to make sure we don't have any errors or anything. So let's see. Let's run it. There we go, that's looking good. Let's double check by refreshing. Yeah, that seems good. Great, okay. Now that we've done our model for a task, we can go ahead and create a model form. So let's go ahead and do just that. So we would now go to forms.py. Great, and of course we already have some here for registering and logging in a user. We can go down here and add a comment. Very good to add comments in your code. So here I'm going to say create a task. Okay. So it's going to be very straightforward. So we're going to create a model form here. So here I'm just going to say class, and I'm going to go ahead and say create task. And what I can do is I can just go ahead and within that pass in forms.modelForm. So we're going to inherit that. Great. And we need to go ahead and just simply say class meta. And we need to define our model. So our model is going to be called task. Okay, so we would need to import that. So we would just simply say from, let's see, where's our model actually? Okay, so we say from.models import task, just like that. Okay, the reason that we're just putting a dot is because our models.py file, which we're referencing, is in the same directory. Great, now we can assign model here to our task. Great, and the fields that we'll utilize, so we can double check that in models. We're going to use title and content, okay, date posted, and this is our foreign key. These won't be necessary, so we don't need to worry about that because we are not going to we're not going to post a date. This will be automatically done for us, and the foreign key, we're not going to use that. So let's go ahead and pass in two fields, which will be title. So our fields are technically our attributes. So this will be title and content. Great. And we can go ahead and exclude our foreign key. So you can say exclude here, and we're going to just exclude user here, which is our foreign key. You don't need to worry about date posted. And as a good practice, just add a comma after your fields. Okay. Great, so that is our form done for creating a task. Great. Now we want to move on to the UI. So we will go to urls.py. We can open this up here. Okay, and let's add one just on the dashboard, because this will be included in our views for logged in users. So I'm going to copy this comment here. And I'm going to go ahead and just name this to create, let's put it in caps, create a task. Create task. Okay, so we need to set our URL path. So I'm just going to call it pass, and the route I'm going to say create task. And here I'm just going to say views dot, and I'm going to call this in the end to create, and I'm going to use camel casing here, create task. Name, I'm just going to say create task. Great, perfect. Remember to add your comment. All right, now we have our URL path set for creating a task. Now what we would need to do is we need to set up our view. So let's go to views.py, and just under our dashboard here, we can go ahead and use our comment again. And here I'm going to say create a task, create a task page. Right, I'm going to just copy this here. And the reason being, I want to have this login required parameter at up top for my view, which will be create task, which of course I'm referencing just here for the view. Perfect. Now we can actually go ahead and take this away for now, and let's write our view. Okay, so what we need to first of all do is we need to go ahead and assign a variable, you could say, to our task form. But before we do that, we need to actually call our create task form from forms.py. And to do that, we can go to views at the top, and we can see that we are importing from forms here already a create user form and login form, which we can see here and here. Now we want to just import create task. So we can just simply put a comma here and say create task. So this is our create task form. Actually, we can change the name there. So let's say create task form, so it's more appropriate. There we go. So it's now called create task form, and I feel that is better to understand. Now we can go ahead down here and we can actually start everything up. So we need to say form. So we're going to assign a variable here to create task form. All right, now we're just going to do some sort of testing here. So we need to say if the request that we sent, the method is equal to a post request. Okay, we can say form equals task form. No, create task form. And we can just say here request.post. I'll explain this now. So of course we're sending like a variable here that we're assigning to our form here. Now, if in our HTML, which we'll set soon enough, okay, if we are requesting the method to be of a post request, then what we want to do is we want to go ahead and post all of the data that we enter in our form. So the title and the content, that's what we're doing here. Okay, next, we're going to go ahead and check if our create task form is valid, if there's no errors or any problems with it. Now to do that, we need to simply say if form dot is underscore valid and colon. And if it is, and there's no errors, we want to say form dot save. And then we can say return redirect. Okay, and I'll show you now where we'll redirect to. Keep it as an empty string for now. And like so. So what's going to happen now is if our form is valid and doesn't have any errors, we're going to go ahead and save everything, and you could say push it to our database. And once we've done that, we're going to redirect, and this redirect we're going to set soon enough. Okay, next we need to set our context dictionary. So we need to say context equals, and we can say form as our key, and our value would be form. Perfect. So yeah, that's fine. And we need to go ahead and say return render, and we need to pass 3 parameters. One is just our request, then of course where our create task HTML template is. So we can see it's in profile and then create task. Just the same thing as we did here with dashboard. So you'll see everything pertaining to views that users can access will be under as HTML templates under this profile folder or directory. So here I'm going to go ahead and say profile / create task.html. Then what I'm doing is I need to pass in my context dictionary. So I always say context equals context, which is like so. Perfect. So this is how we would go ahead and create a task. Now we're not done yet. We need to fix this up in our, as you can say, in create task here. Okay. So luckily we have some code, so we can just copy and paste here. So we have register, and we're going to use the same logic here pretty much. So we can copy that, move it to create task, like so. Let's move it there. So that's the benefit here. And let's see what we have. So we have static crispy tags, and we have our base HTML, registration page, a crispy form. That's great. And that's looking good. So we can switch this up to, instead of saying registration page, we can say create a task. Okay, so remember, we've just copied everything here from register.html, which we did earlier on. So we just set this all here. So that's looking great. Perfect. Okay, so that's great. Now, what I want us to do next, okay, we're going to close all these up for now. We want to go to dashboard.html, and we just want to go ahead and set sort of like a link here. So we have a logout link. So I'm going to have one here for create a task. So here I'm going to say create task. So we can go to that link once we've logged in on our dashboard page. So, and the route is going to be create task. And the reason being that this is here, like I said before, if we go to our app and urls.py, you'll see here by the third parameter, we have create task, which we're referring to here. So we're referring to this part here. Okay. Now, when we click on this, it's going to, of course, run our create task HTML page. Now, we didn't set, if we go to our views now, we didn't set the redirect. So for now, we can redirect back to the dashboard. We must just make sure if we go to our URL that dashboard has, yeah, it has a name parameter here. Great. So that's fine. So just be sure to redirect to the dashboard page. So you go straight back to this page here once you've created a task. Okay. Now that should be all fine. So we can close that up. Okay, great. We can just open the view here just to keep it there for now. And let's actually go ahead and test this out. Right, let's do it. So let's go to Google, and we need to register a user. So let's register a user. Here I'm just going to say Arno96. You can give it anything that you want. And here I'm just going to say test96@gmail.com. Set a password. Okay, I will need to put spacing in here because this does look a bit cluttered. So I can go ahead and just say submit. Okay, user's registered. Okay, I may need to fix that as well. So let's see. My login. Okay. I will just need to switch this here and redirect. So while I'm here, I can do that. So in the future, when you create a user, you'll be redirected to the login page. So just add that there. Okay, it's not a problem. I can just, in the route, just say my login. And there we go. So now let's log in with our username and password. And there we go. So here we can go ahead and go to create task. We can log out, and this is what we should have so far. So let's go ahead and create a task. There we go. So here we have our title and content. So here, for example, I'm going to just say do chores at home. And content must be done by 5 p.m. Okay, so let's see what's going to happen technically. So if we look at our create task, if everything works fine, we're going to redirect to the dashboard. So let's see if this is working okay. submit it, and there we go. Now we want to verify this, so let's log out, check on our admin page. I'm going to sign in as a super user and see if a task object has been created. So we don't see the model, so that means we need to quickly go ahead and register it. So we need to make use of admin.py and say admin.site.register. And we need to import our model, of course, to make use of this. And of course, our model will be, we need to say from models, import task. And then we're just going to register task like this. Okay. So we're just calling our model task and we're just registering it on our site, admin site, and we're registering our model task. So if we go here and we refresh, we can actually see our task here, task model. Now don't worry, like I've said before, if there's an S here, Django automatically appends an S to every model that you create. So even if you say task, it's going to have tasks. If you were to create a model called accounts, it's going to have accounts with 2 S's. So just bear that in mind. So we can open that up and we can see we actually have our task object, which we just created. Okay, so well done. This was how you will create a task in your task manager app. So nicely done. Great. Now let's go ahead and clean some stuff up before we move on. So we can go back, log out. And while we add it, since we're doing a project here, we can clean up a little bit. So we can now take a break from that for now. So just clear your mind. And it's just to do something simple. So let's go to where do we see the problem in register the HTML. We can go ahead and we can actually just go ahead and put like a breakpoint here. Like so. Okay, that's fine. And what we can do is we have here form crispy. We can literally just say here, we can reference our attribute. So if we go to, we can go to, let's see what we have. Let's go to our admin page. And let's see what we need for a user. So if we click on a user, okay, we have username, email address, and then we'll have our password. So we can reference these fields individually. And what I mean by that, if we go to forms.py, we can see we have our fields username, email, password 1, and password 2. So we can go to register and say here form.username. Now, Crispy will no longer work now. It will show an error. So what we need to do is we need to change this up and say as _ crispy _ field. So this allows our sort of crispy field to be attached to individual fields as we work through everything. So what we'll need to do here is just reference all of our fields here. So we have forum username, then email. So we can just copy and switch this out. Okay, so after we've cleaned a little bit, we're going to focus on reading our tasks. So this will just take a moment. So let's just output them like so. And we'll do the same for login. So we're doing some cleaning as well. So we can say as email, okay, password 1 and password 2. Okay, so this is only, and we're only doing this, like I said before, because we are dealing with individual fields here. Okay, so that's perfect. Now, if we were to register, we can see now it looks a lot cleaner and this looks a lot better. Okay, so you can see it's much better. Now we can actually also clean up our, while we add it in our login page here. So we can use the same sort of logic. So if we go to my login, we can do the same thing and we can just say .username as _ crispy field. Okay, I always add 2 spaces here for our breakpoints. Perfect, and we can just move that here, add it there, and switch the field now to password. Now, in case you're wondering, where do I get these from? If you go to forms.py, you'll see username and password. Okay, so these would be our fields. Now, if you were to go ahead and refresh, you'll see now this also looks a lot better now. Okay, so we can now see our register page looks a lot cleaner and our login page as well. Okay, great, so nicely done. Okay, so we can actually go ahead and I think move on. Right, so we want to now go ahead and read a task. So we can close these up. Okay. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a sort of a view tasks URL. So we can go to do URLs, and here on the create task, we can just go ahead and switch this up and say read task. Okay. And I can just clean this up here. All right. Now the pass URL, I'm just going to say here view task. And view will be called lowercase view task and view task. Okay, we can actually switch this over to view tasks. That would be more appropriate. And the view I'll leave to view tasks. You can decide how you want to reference and name your name parameter here and your route. Okay, great. Now the good thing here is we can actually go ahead and go straight to our view. So we can go to views.py. All right, and we're just going to pretty much create some queries, and that will be all for this part. So we can go ahead and just copy our comment, like so. And in the meantime, we can go to dashboard to create a link for us in the meantime. So under create task, you can just create a link here, add a space for our breakpoint. And here I'm just going to simply say view tasks. Right here, I'm going to say view tasks. And while I'm at it, I'm going to put double breakpoints here to make it look better. Okay, now if you're wondering about this, I got it from here, which I've assigned here. Okay, so this is to read a task, or we can say view a task. So the reason I'm saying read here and view here is because view makes more sense for our users, and read task makes more sense as a developer since we are working with CRUD, create, read, update, and delete. Okay, perfect. Now we can go ahead here and create our view. So the first thing we need to say is def, and it's going to be view task. So I'm going to say def view task as the function name, pass in the request, and while we're at it, we want to put in our login required decorator to protect our view. And here we're going to view all tasks page. And for now, we'll just say pass. Great. Okay, so there's one thing I want to show you here and explain before we move on. You'll realize in our create task view here, if we go back to our admin page, let's log in here. With tasks, you'll notice in our object that we have no user attached to this, so we don't know which user sent this. Okay, now this is a typical problem that a lot of people face, and we can solve this in one way. So first of all, delete this task, delete it, and I'm going to show you exactly what to do to fix this. Now we need to actually query our foreign key. So here under create task, okay, what we need to do is under valid, we need to say, we can just create a variable here. So I'm just going to simply say task, and I'm going to say form.save, and I'm going to say pass in a parameter that says commit equals false. That says, this line pretty much says here, okay, our form has been ready to be posted and everything. Just hold on a minute, just before you do that, just wait. We want to just add something extra. So that extra thing that we're going to do is we're going to say task, and then we're going to say dot user equals to request dot user. Now what this is going to do is we're going to assign our foreign key, you could say. So if we go to models.py here, our foreign key, we want to go here and set this foreign key so we know and we can link up this task to our user. So here we say task.user equals request.user, and request.user is just going to say, okay, this user is the user that is currently logged in, and that is the one that is submitting and creating this task. Now all we need to do now is we can go ahead and just keep this line here and switch this over to task.save. So this is how we would do this. Okay, so just bear that in mind. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to test this actually. If we log in with our user, just log in with our password. Okay, and we can see here we already have the view task URL, so let's create a task. So here I'm just going to say test1 and whatever. Submit. There we go. Let's log out. Go to our admin page, and then you can see what I meant. So if we go back to tasks, task object, you'll now see that we've linked it to our user. So technically what that means, if we were to delete this user now, Arno96, so let's actually do it this way. If we say this and we say delete, go, it's going to tell us, hey, wait. So if I delete this, I'm going to delete this user. And anything that is linked to this user, so in other words, by a foreign key, I'm going to delete that too. So it will also delete this task object that we see here. Okay, so just say no, take me back. And yeah, that's how this would work. So just make sure that you add that to your code. So I left it out on purpose just for you to see if you would catch that out. But just remember, it's important to do this. Okay, so just be aware of that fact. Right, let's get back to reading a task. So we can close these for now. Let's go to our view and let's go here. Now the first thing that we want to do is we want to go ahead and check which user is signed in. So we can just say current underscore user, and here I'm going to say request.user, but I want to get the ID of that user because I'm going to reference by primary key. So here I can go ahead and actually create a query. So I'm going to call this task and reference the task model here. That's why it's uppercase. I'm going to say models. And then I'm going to say .all, and I'm going to filter this specifically by the user. So I can just go ahead here and filter by user equals current user, like so. Okay, you'll notice task has not been defined. We just need to simply go ahead and import it. So we can just say from .models import task. Okay, so we've imported the task model. Great, so there we have it. Now we need to now, of course, render this all out, create our context dictionary and so. So we can just simply just say context. And now we're going to say task as our key. And we can just say here task as our value. Perfect. Now we need to render this out and we need to say request. And it will be profile. Let's see where it is, the template, profile, and oh, we need to actually create a view for this, a HTML template. So I'm going to call this view tasks.html, like so. So we can just reference that there. So profile view tasks.html. Great. And the context, I'm going to set the context variable here, remove pass, and there we have it. Now, what we want to do is we just want to, of course, clean this up a little bit. So we would need to just simply go and just copy some code here. So we can go to dashboard. And we can take everything here in dashboard and move it to view tasks. Okay, we can take everything out here, except the HR up to there would be fine. And I'm just going to switch this over to my tasks. Great. And now what we'll do is we will proceed to just render out all the data. So what we would need to do is we can just, for example, say, let's say, yeah, we would say use our for tag. So we can just say tag for, and we can say, for example, th. No, let's say task for tsk in task. And I'm just going to close this up. And we need to say end for. And now we're just going to reference out what we have in tasks. So we know we have a title and we have content. So we can simply just render this out like so. So we can just say what will be tsk dot title. Okay, we can just add a breakpoint here. And tsk.content. You can choose to add a space here alongside if you'd like, but that's perfect. So this is under view tasks for our task. Great, so let's see if this actually works. So let's go and test this out. Okay, so let's go back to views and double check everything's okay. Let's see, okay, this is looking okay. So instead of models, we're referencing an object. So we need to just say objects. Okay, so just double check your code and just make sure everything's right there. Perfect, there we go. Okay, so let's actually go ahead and check this now. So let's log in. To log in with your user. go to view tasks, and there we go. So we can see we already have a task there at the moment. So let's go ahead and create another task. And we want to, when we create a task, redirect to view tasks. So we can go here, and under create task view, we want to go to this view here. So if we look at the URL, the route is view tasks. So we can just put that in our dashboard here, the redirect. And let's create a task. Right. While we're here, we can just clean that up actually. So under create tasks, but we can do that after actually. So here's going to be test 2. I'm going to say this is amazing content. Anything that you'd like is fine. Okay, so here we have it. So it doesn't look as great. So it says test 2. This is amazing content. So what we want to actually do is we want to go ahead and actually clean this up just a bit. It doesn't look so great. So if we go to view tasks here, okay, what we want to do is we simply just want to try and separate this a little bit so it looks a bit better. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to our CSS file here. And I just want to add a property. And I'm just going to say, for example, you know, we can actually do this inline. Actually, I can teach you inline CSS. That would be best. So what you can do sometimes is with CSS, you can do it inline. So you can say here style, and I'm going to just say margin top, and I'm going to say about 20 pixels. Okay, so let's see the change here. Okay, so that changes the margin there. Okay, we have our tasks here, so we can see if we can update this just a little bit. Go to create another task. Okay, so we have test 3. So the issue that we're having here is everything is sort of on a line by line. So what we can do is we can actually add our breakpoints here. So this should clean it up a little bit for us. So we'll put it at the top here and below. So if we refresh, okay, that does make a slight difference, but we can change this even more. All right, and the reason why it's not looking so great is we need to just simply go ahead and attach our container here, put it within our for loop, like so. Okay, and then this will clear everything up for us. It'll look nicer, and it will be just like we envisioned. So we can take this out, and we will just fix this up as we go. So let's see the change here. Okay, that's fine. There we go. And you'll see it will separate now into 3 individual tasks. And this is why we also added the margin top. So we have that spacing in between our tasks. So we can see it looks a lot nicer. All right, so what we can actually do now is we can just add a breakpoint at the end. Just like that. We might need to add 2. No, that's fine. So we can see it's a lot nicer now. We can center my tasks for now. So where's our tasks? Okay, we can just say class text center. Okay, there we go. So we can see it's looking nicer and nicer, and this is perfect. Great. So we can now, so what have we accomplished? We've accomplished 2 things. So let's go back to our dashboard. We will put links in eventually, so don't worry. So we're now able to view our task, so read a task. We're able to create a task, and that's what we've done so far. Next, we'll be able to create our task, view our task, and then also to update it and delete it. Okay, so in the meantime, let's take a break from all of this and let's just clean up some code, make it look nice as we work on. So we take a break before we work on how to actually go ahead and update a task. So first of all, we want to clean, if we go to create a task, we just want to add some spacing between title and content. Now to do that, we would go straight to create task. And we can see here we're using form crispy. So this is outputting all the elements in one, but we want to do this separately. So we can say form.title would be our attribute. And then as underscore crispy underscore field, just like that. Let's add to our breakpoint here. And I'll just copy this here and put it underneath. And we're just going to say content here as well. Okay, great. And we'll just put a space just above our button as well. like so. Okay, there we go. So that looks a lot nicer. So create task looks okay, and view tasks looks okay. Now for our next part, we'll update and delete. So we can go ahead and just put default links here for update and delete. So while we're here, so we can save time, go to view tasks, and we can just go ahead and just put our a link so we can borrow from our dashboard. And let's actually position this so we can go ahead and put it just here. So let's just see where that looks. Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. So we can just switch this now. We can switch the tags. Okay, and we'll need 2 of these. So I'm going to put 2 breakpoints. Right, so we can just leave this by default. Okay, we can't change the route because we haven't defined it for update or delete yet. But we can in the meantime change the text that we see. So we can say here update task. And here we can just say delete task like so. Okay, so if we go back, and there we have it, update task and delete task. Okay, perfect. Now let's head over to our dashboard. And here we are. Good. Okay, so we've just updated that a bit and we're all setting and ready to go for this. So we'll just need to create our logic for update and delete. So let's go all the way back. So first of all, we would need to set our URL. So let's head over to to-do, urls.py, and the next one would be update task. So I'm just going to put this like that. And I'm going to say update task. Perfect. So I'm going to set my URL. And here I'm just going to say update task / and in angle brackets I'm going to make this URL dynamic, so I can just put a string pk, so that's like our primary key, and I can just leave it like so. All right, and the views I'm going to say update task, so camel casing here, and the name here will be the same as our route, or the first part of our route, update task. Okay, perfect. Now we can actually move on to our view. So let's go to views.py, and we can simply go ahead and under view task, create our view for updating a task. So here I'm going to say update task page. Okay, we can borrow a bit here. Okay, and here I'm going to say update task. So this is because, of course, I just referenced it here. So we're just updating it there. Great, so we've done that. Now let's go ahead and do this. So, of course, like before, you've seen in the fundamentals, we need to set our primary key here, so our ID that we're going to reference. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to go ahead and create a variable, and we are going to perform a query now on our task model that is going to go ahead and get the ID, which is our primary key here. And that, like I said before, is going to be referencing this dynamic URL here. So we're going to get whatever ID is here. So this will usually be the object ID that we get whenever we select a particular task. So we will, if we click update here, it's going to show, if you can see in the tooltip, it will say update task / and then the object name here. So let's say object 1. And then here in the bottom left, you'll see in the tooltip, it will show update task -2 -3, or whichever the object is. It will make sense in a moment. Okay, perfect. Now what we want to do now is set our form to the variable. So here we're going to say we can say to our create task form. That's fine. Okay, and we're going to use the same form with the same attributes or fields, and we're going to specifically select a particular instance of that task, which means I want to get, if I'm going to update this task, I want to update this instance. If I want to update this task, I want to update this instance, and like so. So we can move on now. Now it's the same before. We need to say if request.method is equal to that of a post request. If so, we're just going to say form equals task, create task form, we can say. and I'm just going to put here request.post, and the instance, I'm going to set that as task. Okay, so we're going to get a specific instance, and we're going to send a post request for this form. Okay, so try not to get confused here. So we are just using the create task form, okay? And we are just going to go to templates, and we'll create a, let's in the meantime go and create a task.html. And we're just going to borrow this form here. We're using the exact same thing. Okay, so I don't want you to get confused with this because it's just a name. Under create task form here, we are just using this form. Okay, so don't worry about this name. So we are updating here, just to be clear. Great, and we can now say if the form is valid, so if there aren't any errors or anything, we can go ahead and save this form or push it to our database. And if we updated something, we want to go back to view tasks. So we can actually see this update. So we want to go to view tasks. Great. The last thing we need to do is pass in our context dictionary. And we can you can just say form as our key and value. And the render we can actually copy from create task. Like so, and we can just switch this profile out here for update task.html. Okay, so if we go now to update task, we can literally copy everything in create task because we're using the exact same logic. Okay, except there's lots of space here that I want to just delete. So delete if you have extra space because this is a little bit bad. Take that away. Okay, there we go. Now we can just say up here, update task instead of delete task. Perfect. Okay, so this is how to update a task. So you can see the only difference here specifically is we are getting a specific instance for our task. Okay, so there we have it. Now let's actually test this out and see how it goes. All right, so let's go to Google and we can actually refresh. Okay, and just before I forget, we actually need to go ahead to our view tasks HTML, and under here we need to just set the route and we need to pass in the ID. So here I'm just going to put task.id, and here it's going to be the route, which is update task. And the reason for that is here on the URLs, we just specifically set that up. Okay, so we can go to view tasks, there we go, and it will be updated for the first one. So here you can see it. So we have update task, and then you can see the object in the bottom left. So this is object 2, object 3, and object 4. So this is what we just did here because we are within this for loop for us. Okay, so let's go ahead and update a task. So we see the current task. This is the instance that we selected. That's why, like I said before here, we just changed this to the specific instance was a pre-populated field. So we can do this for literally all of them, and we'll see the above information. So I'm going to just change this here and just change the content. So I'm going to say change, just updated. And when I update, we can see here, we're going to redirect back to view tasks, and we see the URL for view tasks is like so. So let's do that. Just updated. Let's update this one. So you can put anything that you want just to prove this is working. Just updated. And let's update the content here. Just updated. Okay, so you can now see we have learned how to actually go ahead and update a task. So next we will learn how to delete a task. All right, so let's go to the last part. It's been a long session, so let's get this last part done and let's delete. So we've learned how to create, read, update. Let's delete now. Okay, so the point is what we're going to do is we're going to delete a task. We're going to go to a page for deleting a task. Once we've deleted it, we'll be redirected back to our task section here, and we'll see that it will disappear, the object will be gone. So let's go ahead and do that. So first thing, like always, we need to set up our view. So we can go ahead and just copy the comments here. So we follow good standards, and we're just going to name this delete task. So we can go ahead and just say delete task. put this here, and I'm just going to say delete task. Okay, we're going to use the same logic. We're going to go ahead and use a dynamic URL because we need to reference that specific instance. The view, I'm just going to say delete task here, camel casing. Name will be delete task here as well. Just like so. Okay, perfect. Now we have so many things open, so let's dumb this down. So let's close everything. Okay, and let's reorganize ourselves. So what we want to do is go ahead and create a template. I'm going to call it delete task.html. Okay, we can leave that as so. Now what we can do is we can move on and create, start to create our view. So we can open views.py. Now the coding logic here is very simple, so this will be very fast actually. So delete task page, like so, and we can just simply create our view. So let's see, the view name will be delete task as we defined here. So we can say def delete task, and we need to pass in our, of course, our request was PK because we're doing the same thing as update. We're referencing the primary key that we are obtaining. Now we can just go ahead and we can go ahead and just query, perform a query here. So I'm going to say task and reference my task model and say objects.get, and I want to get the ID that is equal to PK here. Great. Now, of course, we want to just check if we are submitting a post request. So we can go ahead and do just that. Now, if we are, we just want to simply say task.delete. So simply put, we're going to get, of course, an instance. So we're going to say ID equals to PK. So we're going to get that specific instance that we have here. And then we're going to simply delete this instance once we've selected it. Simply enough. Then if we've deleted it, we want to redirect to view tasks. So we can actually see that deletion from the list of tasks pretty much. And all we need to do is just go ahead and render when we're done. So we can render, so we don't need to pass anything. We can say it is profile. And we can see here under the templates, profile, delete task.html. Delete -task.html. And yeah, that's all we need for this actually. We don't need to pass any context or anything. Great. So what we can do is we can actually go ahead and just clean up our task form. We can add a bit here. So it will be very simple. So we can actually borrow from, I think we can borrow from update task actually. We can just copy everything here. And let's see what we need and don't need. So we're not going to output anything. Okay, so we can just simply remove everything up to here. And what we're going to do here is at the top, we're going to say delete a task. Okay, that's great. And we need to just put like a paragraph tag here, which will be good to say, are you sure that you want to delete this task? It's all you need to say. And you can just now put in a link to go back in case someone decides not to delete that task. So simply would go to dashboard, copy one of these links, and return back to view tasks, saying, and we can just say here, go back. Okay, simple like that. We have a basic form here. We're not going to render any data out in our template. We're just going to simply submit for deletion. And the value here, we can just say, we can change this to delete actually. So we can actually get in the finer details later on. Okay, but we can keep it simple for now. Now, one more thing, we need to go to view tasks and we need to change this to delete task since we defined it here as delete task. So let's do just that. So I'm going to say delete task and pass in the task ID. So we know which task we're doing. So delete task and update task have a similar way of working in terms of selecting the specific instance. Okay, so let's test this out. Right, so let's go back. Let's refresh, check if there's any errors. Looks good. Okay, so now we can see in the tooltip on the left, okay, it's rendering at least the URL for us. It's dynamic, so let's delete this task. Okay, we're on this page here, and this doesn't look good. Let's actually fix this first. I just want to go ahead and put 2 breakpoints here. And refresh. Oh, it should be here. Let's do that. Oh, there we go. Actually, why is there now a big gap there? Sorry, just small details here. Okay. So are you sure you want to delete this task? If I don't want to, I can go back to come here. So I want to delete task 1, say delete. And there we can see it is gone. Okay, perfect. So yeah, we've done it. So we've learned in this log video how to create, read, update, and delete specifically for our task manager application. So it's not much to look at now, but we at least have some basic CRUD functionality working out here for us. Okay, so what we want to do now is we can just simply close everything up. And then in the next video, we're going to move on and progress, add some fine touches in between as we've done, and we'll work on it that way. So it's been great, and I hope you guys enjoy this. So thank you very much.